I know words. I have the best words.
This is All the Best Words with Matt Murphy and Cameron Smith.
Make a lot of sense. Anyway, but yeah, it's been a weird time.
Yes. The last several weeks have been different.
Yeah, and you want to believe that it marks some sort of change. I think that's the hope and the prayer. You don't know, though.
Mm-mm. It will mark a change. I'm just not sure which
it's
direction.
It's a marker. Yeah, we just don't know which way it's going. What's going on, friends? It is time for another episode of All the Best Words. Have no idea what number this is, but I bet Mason will put it up, like 50-something or not, 52, I'm being told, by someone that's not named Cameron Smith. He is Cameron Smith. He writes all the best words.
He's Matt Murphy, and he says all the best words.
And this is All the Best Words. Format is simple. I bring a word, he brings a word. We talk about those words you think, and hopefully get smarter as a result. The last time that you and I were together, I guess one of the last times we were together, we were just finding out about Charlie.
Yep.
We were unsure at the time of the recording. You can go back and watch this. I think it was episode 50. I think there's been one in between there. But we were unsure about his fate, and obviously we've since found out that he passed away as the result of his injuries. And I can imagine that one or a few of the next several episodes that we record will have something to do
some relation to it, yeah.
Some of that political fallout. I know for me that's the case today, but let's start with you.
So my word is hate. It's directly related to Charlie Kirk's assassination. In the ensuing week, I just filed a column today, but I just kind of sat on it. And I just said, I want to think about this and kind of see how this is going, right? And we saw some of the most ghoulish behavior, most hate-filled stuff come out after his assassination, and it was awful. It was ugly speech. It was despicable. But then I saw Attorney General Pam Bondi get on camera and say, basically, if you engage in hate speech, we're going to come after you with the force of the Department of Justice. And that's why my word hate is there. I don't think it's ever fun and to defend hateful speech. I really hate this part of free speech because it means I got to look at things that people say that I find to be terrible and then say, okay, well, but what is protected and what isn't? I want to be real clear out of the gates. You are not, the First Amendment to the Constitution protects your speech from government censorship. It does not insulate you from the consequences of your speech.
Or from government arrest.
Sure. And the saying terrible things about Charlie Kirk, saying you wish he was dead, he deserved it, things like that, saying those horrible things, a private employer can look at that and say, goodbye. I do not want you associated with my business anymore. You spoke. You were free to speak. I am free to end your employment.
And in some cases, a government entity can do the same thing.
Yes.
Government institutions. Yes.
But we need to be clear about that. There's a balancing test there. That is the speech so disruptive by this government employee that it outweighs their ability to speak as a private citizen. And that is, a balancing test. It's not a super clear line. But generally speaking, in these public institutions, we still have to remember that the Constitution applies there. And, that is a legal matter. So the universities...
And those cases will be driven to the courts.
They will be driven to the courts, and we'll sort them out. But when I hear the Attorney General of the United States saying that we're going to go after hate speech, it makes my skin crawl. Because we, as conservatives and Republicans, have combated hate speech laws from the get-go. And Charlie Kirk said this. He said it, I believe, in May of 2024. He said, hate speech is not a legally recognized thing in America, and that there's all kinds of bad speech, but it is protected by the Constitution. And we need to remember that and understand that just because we don't like things that people are saying does not mean we want to load up government force and say, hey, go after this speech. And the fact that the Attorney General of the United States is now trying to walk it back and sort of recharacterize what she said as, well, I meant true threats. I meant threats and stuff. No, that's not what she said. She
It's
said
not what
hate
you
speech,
said.
and it was a big problem for me.
You said hate speech, and then you followed it up with something about handcuffs, right?
Yeah.
I said in the aftermath of the comment that she made that when I see Attorney General Pam Bondi on television, for the most part, it reminds me that Donald Trump in his second term has not batted 1,000.
Right.
Because Attorney General Pam Bondi consistently disappoints me in her initial reaction to things, or the manner in which she responds to things, or the manner in which she overpromises and underdelivers.
Sure.
And there seems to be a little bit of performance art going on in her office that is frustrating to me. See the Jeffrey Epstein situation. But in this case, it's a little more frightening, because if the Attorney General doesn't understand that hateful speech is a guaranteed form of speech, especially when it's political speech,
Right.
Under the Constitution, then I fear that she doesn't understand some of the fundamental underpinnings of how to do her job.
Yeah, and I'll draw a distinction between Donald Trump and his attorney general. Donald Trump is not an attorney. So if he sits there to the press and is like, you're the worst and maybe they should come after you, I might not like it, but he's not an attorney.
Right.
She's the top attorney in the United States. It is her job, I would argue, more than anybody else, to know exactly what the Constitution says, what it stands for, and not misspeak in the ways that she has on a number of fronts. And for that reason, I think I'm very, very concerned about her ability to carry out her job effectively.
It's increasingly frustrating to me that otherwise sensible or rational people don't seem to have the ability to separate what I think you should be saying versus what you have the legal right to say.
Right.
I do not, and what I said in direct relation to Pam Bondi's comments was, we do not need a government powerful enough to put people behind bars based on what they determine is hateful speech. The free market will and is handling all of this just fine.
Right.
The free market will handle it. Society will determine what they deem acceptable and not acceptable. And if you say things out loud that doesn't necessarily end you up in jail, but you become a pariah, then that's the free market.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right? And I'm reminded, and it is a less offensive thing that happened years ago, but I think it's a good example of what we're talking about. When the then Dixie Chicks came out, they were the most popular country music band in America.
Yes.
And they, in England, said nasty things about George Bush. We're embarrassed for being from Texas because he's from Texas. And then they got snotty about it afterwards. They said it, and instead of going, we probably shouldn't have said that, they got all snotty about it and doubled down on it, and thinking that there would be no ramification.
And that was it.
And that was it, because country music said, you know what? The people that listen to our radio stations, the people that buy our products, the people that support our advertisers, they don't like you at all anymore, and so we're not going to play your music anymore.
Yep.
And there you go. The same things are happening all across the United States of America, rightly so, but that's the free market playing out. Mm-hmm. Obviously, in some circumstances, and I forget the exact terminology, an agency of the government, if what you are doing is in direct contrast with their ability to continue doing the job effectively, or if you're putting the safety of individuals in danger, that they can fire you. And I think that some of those firings will most certainly stand up,
and some won't.
And some maybe won't if they are lesser offensive. But, yeah, I mean, it is a frightening aspect of this that a lot of people think that the government should have the ultimate ability to put people in jail based on some. I mean, and once again, some of these are the worst types of language imaginable.
Yes.
The worst thoughts imaginable. Why the people feel empowered to say them not just out loud, but to say them publicly in a manner in which they know it's going to be heard and seen is beyond me, which leads me to my word, which is in direct relation to this conversation, and that is rhetoric. My initial reaction after the immediate shock of knowing that Charlie had been killed for language, for speech, was to push back on this ridiculous narrative that we need to tone down the rhetoric.
Amen.
People with brains that God gave us understand the difference between words and language and violence.
Right.
And sadly, and we've allowed it to happen in our society, and we need to stop it. We need to actively push back on this because there's a growing number of, especially younger, left of center folks who say that words are violence, that if you trigger me, if you say things that, somehow impact me emotionally, that is violence against me.
Rhetorical violence is akin to physical violence.
Right. Because that not only insinuates in some arenas, they outwardly say that responding with violence to violence is self-defense. So the stated language is that you are allowed to hurt someone based on things they say to you. That sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you doesn't apply anymore. And it's the height of absurdity. And we need to stop it. We can be heated in our rhetoric. You and I talked about it last week, that you and I can get into heated argument, but we fully understand the difference between that and engaging in violence against someone else.
And I would even go so far as to say, I would even be open to a balancing test, right? If you said, okay, I said something extremely offensive to you and you punched me in the nose, I'm like, okay. Those seem to be weighted, right? I'm okay with that. But the idea of I say something that offends you and you kill me,
right?
That's not a thing, right? Like that's not. And what's insane right now is that people aren't. They're just not thinking. They're not being reasonable about what's happening. I've heard one politician after another say, political violence has no place in America. You know how we got started? Like, do y'all remember like the Civil War? Do you remember the Civil Rights era? Like, political violence in America happens. It should be a last resort. Right. It shouldn't be a first act. Right. And so we need to be at least sober about where we are in this moment. Like, this could easily go a horrible, bloody way if we do not figure out how to use our words, how to say, I really disagree with you, and I know I'm not going to convince you of my viewpoint. We just have to leave it there.
Well, and what's happening right now from a rhetorical standpoint, and Charlie Kirk, there are hours and hours and hours and hours of Charlie Kirk on tape.
Yes.
You can go back and watch him.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people that are saying some of the worst things about him have never watched Charlie Kirk.
Right.
And it's obvious when they start off with, well, he said nasty things about this group or that group. No, he didn't. I defy you to show me where he said Now, he might have said things about those groups that you didn't like. Yes. He might have presented arguments about those groups of people that you didn't care for. But in terms of saying pejoratives or saying just slurs about these groups of people, no, he didn't. That's just not true.
Well, and the idea that he threatened anyone. Like, no, he just said things you didn't like. Like, and that's fine. I will be the first to say his style that was intelligent and aggressive and on point and put up with no nonsense. I could absolutely see how somebody who disagreed with him would be like, you're the worst. You are so offensive to me.
Right.
Okay, fine. But then we move on. Because that's where I agree with you. This whole tone down the rhetoric, I'll just put a fine point on it. No. We're not going to do that. We never have. We never will. It is nonsense to act like we are just going to be lion and the lamb and just kind of sit down and passionately disagree with each other in a way that's like, we'll never yell.
I love the idea of, the presentation of when in the course of human events it becomes necessary to dissolve the political Hey, whoa, Tommy. I want to tone that down a little bit. We might piss some of these British off.
Right. What was the Declaration of Independence if not for a list of grievances? They're like, we don't like you.
Here's the rhetoric. Here you go. Right. So, normal people recognize that we can have disagreement and we're going to have disagreement. Our country was born on disagreement. Oh, by the way, when this nation was born, about a third of the people could give a rip. About a third of the people were with the British, right? It wasn't a slam dunk that we wanted to be a new nation. So, the rhetoric existed then and there as well. So this suggestion that, we're not like this, we're better than this. No, we're not. No, we're not better than heated rhetoric that might get spicy at times, and that's okay.
And you don't shoot people.
And you don't shoot
or stab them.
And you don't shoot
it's,
people.
It's very
Don't stab them.
simple,
It's
where
not
you
really
draw the
hard.
line.
It's not really. It's not hard at all. It seems to be messier than ever now, but it's not that difficult to understand. I'm proud to be a part of the rhetoric with you.
Yeah, man. I think that a robust debate where we get heated. You and I actually exemplify this frequently between ourselves. Like, we're on the same side, if you will, but we do this, and you know what? We love each other after the fact. We're not like, oh, well, you got heated.
And anybody that doesn't believe that, just go look up Matt Murphy, Cameron Smith tariffs. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, some of our initial conversations, we got fiery.
Right.
And
So, we've gotten very spicy in the past, and we still remain friends. And I hope that we remain friends with you. That's going to do it for All the Best Words for this edition. Please join us next time. Like, subscribe, do all the things that you do, and we'll see you next time on All the Best Words.